Hello, good morning everyone. Let's continue with our discussion related to unit number 3. And today we are going to discuss uses of attribute closure and the process of normalization. So before discussing those concepts, let us have a quick recap of whatever we have discussed in our earlier sessions. So most importantly, we have discussed about the concept of functional dependencies, the set of functional dependencies F, and further we have seen the concept of closure of set of functional dependencies F, which is denoted as F plus. So this F plus includes all functional dependencies. Those can be logically inferred or logically implied by the dependencies in F. So logically implied by F. So to compute the closure of F, we have seen certain rules known as the Armstrong's axioms. So these are the basic rules. Those can be used to compute F plus. So Armstrong's axioms are the reflexivity rule. Then we are having augmentation. And further, we are having the transitivity rule. So these three are the Armstrong's axioms. So these are the basic rules. Those we may use to compute F plus. But to simplify our task of computation, we are having certain additional rules also. And these rules are meant for simplification of computation of F plus. And these rules are the union rule, the decomposition rule, and the pseudo-transitivity rule. Right? So we have seen all those rules. Further, we have seen the algorithm to compute F plus. And this algorithm actually uses the Armstrong's axioms to compute this F plus. Now, after detailed discussion of F plus, we have seen the concept of attribute set closure. So this is denoted as alpha plus, where this alpha is the set of attributes. Okay, now what is this attribute set closure and what is this alpha plus determines, or alpha plus is interpreted as the set of attributes logically inferred by alpha. So all the attributes in alpha plus are determined by alpha. Okay, now we have seen the algorithm to compute this attribute set closure alpha plus. So let us write this algorithm, because this algorithm we are going to make use of in this session. So if we want to compute alpha plus, then we will initialize the result to alpha. Then we are having a loop while changes in result do. Here we are having a for loop for every functional dependency of the form beta determines gamma in F, do. If the left hand side beta is subset of result, then result is updated as the old result union the right hand side of the functional dependency gamma, right? And this is end of our loop and end of our algorithm. So this is the algorithm that we are making use of to compute alpha plus. So this is just the revision, all those concepts we have seen earlier. Now, today we are going to look at the uses of attribute. Why actually we need to compute this attribute closure. So let us see the first use of attribute closure. So the first use is to test the super keys of the relation, or to compute to find out the super keys of the relation. So how we are going to make use of this attribute closure? Earlier we have seen one property or one spatial functional dependency of the form K determines R, where R is our relational schema, right? So R represents all the attributes of our relation. Okay, now if we are having this dependency K determines R, where this K is set of attributes such that K is subset of R. Okay, and if we are having a functional dependency like K determines R, then we say that this K is the super key of R. Now, to test if any set of functional dependencies alpha is a super key, what we are going to do is we are going to compute alpha plus, that is the closure of alpha, and we are going to check if this alpha plus contains all the attributes of R, whether alpha plus contains all attributes of R. If yes, we will declare that alpha is our super key for the relation. If no, then alpha is not a super key. So this is the first use of attribute closure, to test for the super keys of the relation, right? Closure possible to find out the of the relation. The next use is to test the functional dependencies. So to check if the functional dependency of the form alpha to beta holds for relation R, or in other words, if we want to check whether alpha to beta is the member of F plus, what we are going to do is simply we are computing alpha plus, that is the closure of alpha, and we are going to check whether the right hand side beta is the subset of this closure alpha plus, right? So if this alpha contains this beta. So if attribute closure of alpha, that is alpha plus, contains the right hand side beta, then definitely this functional dependency is valid. Right? So we compute the closure of the left hand side of the functional dependency, and if this closure includes the right hand side of the functional dependency, then we may say that this functional dependency is valid. In fact, this is a very simple and cheap test, and it is very useful to find out whether the functional dependency is valid for relation. Okay, now the next use of the attribute closure is to compute the closure of F. Earlier we have seen one algorithm for computing F plus, and that algorithm was using the Armstrong's axioms. To compute F plus. But now here we are having the alternative way to compute this F plus, or the closure of the set of functional dependencies F plus. So what we are going to do? Suppose R is our relation schema. Then what we are going to do is we are going to find out all the subsets of R, and these subsets are denoted here as gamma. So given the relation schema R, we are going to find out the subsets of R denoted as gamma. What next? Next we are going to compute the closure of this gamma. So we are going to compute gamma plus. Further, what we are going to do next is we are going to compute the subsets. We are going to find out the subsets of this gamma plus. Obviously, this closure of gamma is the set of attributes. To find out the subsets of this gamma plus, let us denote these subsets as S. Right? So S is the subset of gamma plus. Now, what we are going to do next is simply we are going to output a functional dependency form gamma determines S. See, whatever are the attributes in gamma plus, those are logically determined by gamma, that we know. Right? So all the attributes in gamma plus are determined by gamma. What does this mean? This means that all the subsets of gamma plus can be determined by gamma. So after computation of gamma plus, we are going to find out all the subsets of this gamma plus, and we are going to output the functional dependency like gamma determines S. So all such functional dependencies are the members of our F plus. So I'll repeat once again, given the relation schema R, we are going to find out the subsets of R. So for all such subsets gamma, we are going to compute the attribute closures gamma plus. So for all the subsets, we are going to find out gamma plus. Further, for all such gamma plus, we are finding out the subsets of gamma plus. Right? And for all such subsets S of gamma plus, we are going to output the dependency like gamma determines S. right? And this functional dependency gamma determining S is the member of our F plus. So we are going to repeat this process for all the subsets of R. So ultimately, we are going to find out all the members of F plus, right? So this is the alternative procedure to compute the closure of F, that is denoted as F plus, right? So these three are the important uses of attribute closure: testing for super key, testing functional dependencies, and computing the closure of F, right? So I hope you must have understood all those uses of attribute closure. And this attribute closure is being widely used for several tasks. So we are going to see few exercises by making use of this attribute closure, right? Fine. So let's proceed. Exercise. Schema R, and the attributes in the relation schema are A, B, C, D, E. We have been provided with the set of functional dependencies F, right? So we know that these are the valid dependencies: A to BC, CD to E, B to D, and E to A. And we are asked to compute few members of F plus, and also we are asked to find out the candidate keys for relation. Okay, now instead of using now the earlier method, that is the Armstrong's axioms, we are going to make use of here the closure, attribute closure, right, to compute the members of F plus, right? So let us recall back the algorithm for computing the attribute closure. So attribute closure is computed as the result is assigned to alpha, while changes to result do for each beta determining gamma in F. So for each functional dependency in F, if beta is subset of result, then result is updated as result union gamma. So this is our algorithm to compute the attribute closure. Now we are going to make use of this attribute closure to find out both members of F plus and also candidate keys for relation. Now we have seen that one of the uses of attribute closure is to find out the super keys, right? So how we are going to find out the super keys now? So let us try now. We are having 5 attributes in relation schema R. So let us try to find out the closures for each and every attribute of this R. So let us try to find out A plus, attribute closure of A. So I appeal all of you to use pen and paper and compute the attribute closure with me. So what is A plus? Yes. What is A plus? Apply this algorithm and tell me what is A plus or attribute closure of A. Yes, anybody? What is the process? Initially, our result is A. What's next? We pick the first functional dependency and we are going to check whether the left hand side of the dependency is subset of result. So the dependency A determining BC, A is subset of my result. So what I will be doing is I will be having union of old result with the right hand side of the functional dependency. What next? I'll be picking up the next functional dependency, CD to E. Whether this CD is subset of result, whether CD is subset of this result. Yes.
No.
CD is not the subset of result. So we are not going to add this E in our result. So we'll proceed with the next functional dependency B to D. So here B is subset of my result. So what I will be doing is I'll be appending the right hand side D to my result. Okay. Now what next I'll do? I'll go for the functional dependency E. Next functional dependency E to A. Whether E is subset of my result? No. So I'll not do anything. I'll repeat this process until there are changes in the result. So once again, I'll iterate through this set of functional dependencies. So once again, I'll look for this A to BC. So A is subset, but BC has already been included. We have done with this functional dependency. Now, let us proceed with CD to E. Whether CD is the subset of my result? Yes, now yes, right? So I need to have the union of right hand side with the old result. So I'll be having E here. Right? Now I'll iterate through and I'll find that now there is no more change in my result. So I will terminate. So this is my A plus. Right? Similarly, I am going to compute B plus. So what would be B plus? Now you tell me the results. B plus, C plus, D plus and E plus. Yes. What is B plus?
BD.
BD, yes. C plus. Yes, what is C plus?
E.
C plus is? See, initially we'll be having C and then we will go on iterating, right? So we do not have any functional dependency for which the left hand side is C. Am I correct? So we are not going to add any more attribute here. So C plus is C. What about D plus?
D. D.
D. D plus is D. What is E plus?
E.
E A. Correct? Are you at? So all of you, whether you have got the same results for attribute closures of all the attributes in the relation? Yes. Whether these results are correct? Yes. Whether these results are correct?
Yes.
Fine. Now, see here, we have seen earlier how to find out super keys by making use of attribute closures. Right? Now, what we said, if my alpha plus is determining all the attributes, if alpha plus determines all the attributes in R, then we may say that alpha is the super key, right? So here we have computed individually for every attribute the attribute closures, and what we find is A plus is determining all the attributes of R. Similarly, E plus is also determining all the attributes of R. Do you agree with me? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
So, what we can say is, we can say that A and E are the super keys. Right? A and E are super keys. But what we want to find out the candidate keys. So what are the candidate keys? Candidate keys are the minimal super keys. So here A is the single attribute, E is also the single attribute. So we do not have any subset of either A or E which is also a super key for the relation. And that is why we may declare that A and E are candidate keys. Am I correct? Yes? Are you getting me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Now let us try to find out if there are any more super keys. So if we look at these attribute closures, this B plus is having BD as the closure, C plus is having only C, and D plus is having only D. So now let us try for a few more super keys and ultimately the candidate keys. So let us try for this combination now, BC. So let us try to compute BC plus. So what we will be having in BC plus? Find out BC plus. Yes.
E.
Is this correct? BC plus
Yes.
is B, C, D, E, A. So all the attributes. Right? Now, let us try to find out BD plus. What is BD plus?
BD.
It is BD. It is simply BD. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now, find out CD CD plus? What is CD plus?
CDE A
CDEA
B.
B. Correct. So now we have computed BC plus and CD plus, right? Which also include all the attributes. So what we can infer out of that? We may infer now that BC plus is determining all the attributes of R. CD plus is also determining all the attributes of R. Or rather, BC contains all the BC plus contains all the attributes of R, right? CD plus also contains all the attributes of R. So we may declare now that BC and CD are also super keys. BC and CD are also super keys. Now, we need to check whether these are the candidate keys as well. So, how to check it out? For BC now, we are having the subset as B and C. For CD, we are having the subsets as C and D. Now, whether individual B is the super key, we have computed here. See, we have computed all attribute closures. So, whether only B is a super key? No. Whether only C is the super key? No. Right? So, no subset of this BC is also a super key for R. And that is why we may say that BC is a candidate key. What about this CD? Yes, what about this CD? The subset is C and D. So only C is not the super key. Only D is not the super key. Right? But combination CD is a super key. As no subset of CD is a super key for R, we may say that CD also is a candidate key. So we have found out two more candidate keys. BC and CD are candidate keys. Correct? So earlier we have found out A and E are candidate keys, and now BC and CD are candidate keys. Got it? Yes. Have you understood whatever we have done?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So this is the way how it is possible for us to compute, to find out the candidate keys of the relation. We have similar kinds of questions, right? So you should know how we can find out the candidate keys for the relation, right? And that too very quickly. Now we are done with this. So compute few members of F plus. Now, as I stated, we are not going to make use of the earlier algorithm to compute F plus. Rather, we are going to make use of this attribute closure. Right? So, how to make use of the attribute closure now? So, we have computed attribute closure. So, in our procedure, what we mentioned earlier, to find out the members of F plus, what we need to do, given the relation schema R, we need to find out all the subsets of R. Now here, instead of finding out all the subsets of R, let us limit ourselves to these subsets for which we have computed the closures. Right? So we are having the subset of R as A, B, C, D, E, further BC, BD, CD. Right? We are having lots of subsets of R, but let us stick to these many subsets because we have already computed the closures for all those subsets. Now, what next? Once we have computed the subsets, what we are going to do next is we are going to find out the closures of all those subsets. So we have already computed these closures. What next? We are going to find out the subset of these attribute closures. Say for example, A plus we have computed as A, B, C, D, E. So we need to find out the subsets of this A plus. So what I may have A, B, C, D, E, or I may have AB, AC, AD, AE, and so on. Right? So lots of subsets I may have. So what our algorithm says that if I am having all those subsets, all those can be determined by A. So I may output a functional dependency like A determines A determines B, A determines C, A determines D, A determines E, A determines AB, A determines AC, A determines AD, A determines AE. What else? I may say A determines BC, A determines BD, and so on. So lots of functional dependencies we can have in our F plus now. So these functional dependencies are found by making use of this A plus. Similarly, if we consider this B plus equal to BD. So what are the subsets? We may have B, we may have D, we may have BD, and so on. So we may add the member of F plus as B determines B, B determines D, B determines BD. Similarly, for every attribute closure, we may come up with the functional dependencies. Similarly, we may output the functional dependency for this closure E plus. A, B, C, D, E all are inferred. So we may have E to A, E to B, and so on. Right? So this is the way how it is possible for us to compute this F plus. Am I clear? Yes? Am I clear? Yes, anybody?
Yes.
So if you are having such kind of a question, then you may come up with the solution like this. Right? I'll be giving you few exercises like this so that you can practice. But I hope you must have understood the process. Is that clear? Yes? Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So let me proceed with the process of normalization. So we have seen what are functional dependencies, what is closure of set of functional dependencies, what is attribute closure, and how we are making use of functional dependencies to have or to impose the constraints on our relations. Now, let us see formally what the process of normalization is. So, normalization is a formal technique for analyzing relations based on the candidate keys and functional dependencies. So, this technique basically involves a series of rules. Those can be used to test the individual relations so that a database can be normalized to the desired level. So when a requirement is not met, the relation that violates the requirement or the rule must be decomposed into relations that individually meet the requirements of the normalization. So if you look at this block diagram, what we have is, see, initially we are having various data sources. So we gather the information of the enterprise by making use of various means. So we are having the users of the system. So these users will provide us some insight about the data that they are using. We may collect the forms or reports the enterprise is using so that we can collect some information. Similarly, we are having certain other sources. Those actually describe the data that is being used by the enterprise. So making use of all those sources of data, we come up with the requirement specification. So ultimately, once we know the data that is being used by the enterprise, what we do is we dump all that data in a single table. So all the attributes are being dumped into a table, and this table is known as the unnormalized form of database, UNF. That is the unnormalized form. So simply it is collection of all the attributes. Those are being used in the enterprise, and we are dumping all those attributes in a table, and we come up with this unnormalized form of database. Now, what we are going to do next is we are going to apply certain rules, and we may come up with the normalized version of the database. So earlier we have seen what is the goal, what is the aim for normalization. So the goal for normalization is to reduce the redundancies in the data. That is the main goal, right? So what we do next is we apply the rule. Say for example, if we are having some repeating groups of information in this UNF, then we try to remove the repeating groups and we come up with the first normal form. Once we are having the first normal form of our data, then we try to find out whether there exists any partial dependency. We have seen this concept of partial dependencies earlier. So if my table is having the partial dependencies, then I will try to remove those partial dependencies and I will come up with the second normal form of our database. Now, once I am having the database in second normal form, I will try to find out if there exists any transitive dependencies. If there are any transitive dependencies, then we are going to remove those transitive dependencies and we come up with the third normal form denoted as 3NF. So these three are the important normal forms. Those we may consider. But further, few other normal forms are also being introduced. So after 3NF, more stringent than 3NF, we are having one more normal form, BCNF. So this normal form was introduced by Boyce and Codd. These two were the scientists who introduced this normal form. So the name of this normal form is BCNF. So after 3NF, we may come up with BCNF, which is more stringent. Further, more advanced normal forms are being introduced and those are known as 4NF and 5NF. Right? So we are having these higher normal forms as well. So in the subsequent classes, we are going to focus upon all those normal forms. Right? So normalization is often executed as a series of steps. Each step corresponds to a specific normal form. Every normal form is having some properties. And as we go or as we proceed with these steps, we will come up with more and more restricted forms of relations. Right? So this is the entire process of normalization. In the next class, we are going to talk about this 1NF. Right? So I hope you must have understood this process of normalization. Three basic normal forms are 1NF, 2NF and 3NF. Further, few higher normal forms were introduced and these are BCNF, 4NF and 5NF. So we are going to discuss all those normal forms in our coming sessions. Right? So I hope you must have understood this basic discussion about the process of normalization. So every time we apply certain rules and we come up with a normal form. Correct? If you have any doubts, please let me know. Otherwise, we are going to conclude our session. Is there any doubt? Yes. Is there any doubt? Fine. So let us conclude the session today. Thank you.